If there is one thing we can be sure in life, it's that one day we will die. Death is inevitable, but losing our favorite ones is always painful. What's even more painful is losing them to a disease. And we are in such a situation right now. The ongoing coronavirus pandemic is a serious threat to mankind and has made everyone stay indoors. We hope that you are all staying indoors. But there were pandemics which was even more deadlier than coronavirus. This is top 10, and here are the top 10 deadliest pandemic in the history of mankind. At number 10, we have the Russian flu. Back in 1889, when the medical revolution was in initial stages, there was a deadly virus which originated in the Russian capital of St. Petersburg. Soon, just in a matter of months, the Russian influenza virus spread across the globe and emerged as a global pandemic. In the beginning, the people were terribly confused because they were experiencing extreme body ache and also hot and cold flashes. This deadly virus claimed the lives of 1 million innocent people. Luckily, the outbreak came under control within a year. At number 9, we have the Asian flu. Now let us fast forward to 1957. There was another outbreak originating from East Asia, China to be specific. This new type of virus, which was even more deadly than the Russian flu, was more prominent among children, youngsters, and pregnant women. The symptoms were similar to other influenza viruses such as chills, fever, body ache, and loss of appetite. Thanks to improvement in science and technology, this was also controlled within a year. This Asian flu turned out to be the second most disastrous pandemic of the 20th century, with an estimated death toll of 1.1 million. At number 8, we have the Great Plague of London. Now let us move back to the 17th century. In 2 successive years, London suffered with 2 massive blows. In 1664, there was a deadly disease which claimed the lives of many people. And in 1666, there was a fire which also killed many. People were mentally disturbed and experienced severe fever and vomiting during this plague. One major threat was the death rate, which stood high at 30%. Finally, in 1666, when the London fire incident happened, it killed the rats and fleas which spread the bacteria which caused the plague, thereby ending the Great Plague of London, which killed around 100,000 people just in London and a total of 3 million across the globe. At number 7, we have the Antonine Plague. The London Plague was not the only deadly plague. There were many others, and one of them was the Antonine Plague, also known as the Plague of Galen. It started way before at 165 AD and lasted for a period of 15 long years. Many scholars suspected the reason to be smallpox or measles, but the true reason is still under debate. The affected ones were found with common symptoms such as fever, diarrhea, vomiting, thirstiness, swollen throat, and coughing. This plague was also believed to have emerged from China and was brought to the West through the Silk Road. The death toll was believed to be 5 million across the globe. At number 6, we have the Third Plague. The Third Plague pandemic was a major one, which started in China in the year 1855. The cause for this is believed to be infected rodents from Central Asia. Patients showed several symptoms which included abdominal pain, diarrhea, vomiting, fevers and chills, extreme weakness, bleeding, shock and blackening of skin. This plague terribly affected the Indian subcontinent. This resulted in about 12 million deaths worldwide, with 10 million of them only in India. At number 5, we have HIV and AIDS pandemic. Most of you might already be aware of AIDS disease, but let me tell you that AIDS has claimed a total of 35 million lives across the world. Human immunodeficiency virus, popularly known as HIV, is the major cause for this disease. Experts say that HIV was transferred to humans from chimpanzees in Western Africa in the early 1920s. The virus spread on from there and developed into a global pandemic. For a few decades, the disease let no one survive. But medication developed in the 1990s which allowed people with the disease to experience a normal lifespan with regular treatment for a few years. At number 4, we have the Plague of Justinian. It was the time when the Roman Emperor Justinian I wanted to regain the territories of the Western Roman Empire to establish what was known as the glorious Roman Empire. But before he could achieve that, an invisible enemy came in his way, this time in the form of a plague to stop him. The bacteria causing this plague was said to originate from China. Rats and fleas were believed to be the carriers. These rats reached Europe with the help of merchant ships. One major threat with this plague is this could kill you within 24 hours of infection. The death toll of this disease is still under debate, and it is estimated that this version of plague could have killed around 30 to 50 million people across the globe. At number 3, we have the Spanish flu. The beginning of the 19th century was destined to witness a massive loss of human life in the form of World War I and another pandemic known as the Spanish flu. When the whole world was thinking positively about the ending of World War I in 1918, there came another pandemic to claim the lives of people. This time, the flu was really fierce and it was considered as the deadliest pandemic in the last 500 years. The virus spread like wildfire and claimed the lives of many people. The source of this virus was found out to be pig, and the infected showed normal flu symptoms. The Spanish flu is said to have infected more than 500 million people and have claimed the lives of more than 40 million. One point to notice that the global population at that time was 1.5 billion, which means 1/3 of the population were infected by this deadly virus. At number 2, we have the smallpox. The history of the smallpox dates back to 10,000 years ago in the eastern part of Africa. The earliest record of smallpox were found in the Egyptian mummies. This virus spread through air and infected the skin. The smallpox pandemic happened in the 16th century when the Egyptian war prisoners spread these viruses to others, and soon the virus spread all across the globe. This virus killed around 56 million people during the outbreak. It is estimated that more than 90% of the Native Americans were killed by the smallpox. At number 1, we have the Black Death. Black Death is by far the worst pandemic in the history of mankind. It started in the middle 14th century. This deadly pandemic has its root in Central Asia and found its way to Europe by trade routes. The worst part about this plague was the mortality rate. It was high at 80%, meaning that out of those infected, 80% of the people will die within 8 days of infection. The Black Death is said to be the second worst disaster of Europe. This plague has ended the lives of 200 million people and it reduced 50% of Europe's population. It took Europe 200 years to regain and restore their population. After knowing our history and the number of deaths, you can see the coronavirus pandemic which we are experiencing now is nothing when compared to these deadly diseases. We must properly follow quarantine to reach the end of this pandemic. If we fail, then we will have to face the consequences. This is it for today's top 10. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned.